Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning in to the Trade Setup. I'm Liyat Shah. Let's take stock of all that's happening around the world. First, the non-markets news flow. Uh, Prime Minister Modi and Macron agreed, or French Premier Macron agree on a 25-year plan to deepen cooperation. In fact, on lines of that, Dassault Aviation confirms sale of 26 Rafale marine aircrafts to the Indian Navy. China has called on to India to improve bilateral relationship, as per a statement by MOFA. And Janet Yellen says U.S. concerns with China trade practices are still unaddressed despite her very positive trip. I think this comment came out of the G20. And India and UAE have agreed to trade in local currencies and link payment systems. This is big. This is really big. This happened over the weekend, and this is really big, both in terms of the kind of tourism flow as well as the repatriation, come the business flow that exists between the two countries, so two areas. So this could be interesting. Viewers, excuse me for my cough. It's just persistent, not going, but excuse me if it disturbs the trade setup per se. Anyway, choice. Um, Bring in the US market performance, not the best on Friday. In fact, a pretty tepid performance from NASDAQ and S&P 500. The Dow was about a third of a percent, so nothing kind of a day. Even on the other cues, there was no major slippage or an upside per se. Dollar index stayed at that 99.5 odd level, volatility between 14 and 16, 10-year yield between 3.7 and 3.9. So no big changes there on any of the key cues. The GIFT Nifty should be indicating a flattish start, maybe a marginal downside because the two of the Asian counterparts which started off trade early morning but trading with a bit of red. But yeah, this is a flattish move, and this could be, I mean, it's nothing to take home from here. So what's the trade setup for the day? Well, Nifty increased by about 150 points to close at a new all-time high of 19,564 or thereabouts, about a third of a percent. And this disbelief by people about the market rally keeps on taking the market higher. So I was convinced that 19,400, 450 was a bit of a hindrance till Thursday because of large positions being written there. Friday, we've seen a bit of a breakout. Let's see if this lasts. The thing about the market move, viewers, is that the FPI flows are playing a really big part. Almost any downtick is getting bought into because of the consistency of the FPI flows. So in July, till the 14th of July, FPIs have invested 30,000 crores in India. We were happy with the numbers of 43 and 47,000 respectively in May and June by FPIs. July, it's 30,000 till the 14th, half of the month of July, and we've already seen 30,000 crores. If the pace continues, whether primary markets, QIPs, basic secondary market purchases, what have you, if this run rate continues, then we are looking at a number northwards of 50,000 crores from the FPIs in the month of July as well. That cumulatively, that's over a lakh crore, actually much more than a lakh crore, 1.25 lakh crores put in by the FPIs. Now, the word of caution only is that it was a sell since March. It was sell China, buy India, or sell China, buy some of the other countries. Now, with the relative valuations, you got to be mindful of the fact that this party may not really continue as it is. Right? 20 times versus 9 times China. Yes, there are issues there, but at some point of time, the valuation catch up will happen. So just be mindful of that. The party is for now lasting. Let's see how long it lasts. Banking is looking weak, viewers, owing to results thus far, and BANDHAN is a case in point today as well. But well, you could anticipate some steam if the upcoming results from HDFC Bank, from IndusInd Bank, and the biggies turn out to be good. The mid-sized banks have thus far failed to do any kind of a great upside. I mean, Federal Bank, Bandhan Bank, it's not look good. By the way, keep in mind, PSU banks are yet to come, and the charts look strong there. Lawrence Palanco has come out with a note today, on the 14th of July, rather, post-market hours, and said that Canara Bank is amongst the top ideas that he has. So, could be interesting what happens to banks over the course of the next few days. Earnings in focus today: HDFC Bank, LTM Mindtree. There is Tata Elxsi, Tin Plate, yes, Hathway Cable too, but HDFC Bank, obviously the cynosure of all eyes. Keep in mind, the merged behemoth starts trading from today. Um, you know, difficult to lay out what exactly happens there. I've spoken to some of the best minds, and let's just let it start trading, let it settle, let's see what happens to individual flows, etc. It's very difficult to comprehend too many things for such a large event that has happened, but the behemoth starts trading from today per se as a combined entity, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on the day of the results. Stocks to watch is an important one this week, this week too, by the way, because this week is punctuated with a lot of results. Keep that in mind. But let's talk about today's numbers. So, Avenue Supermarts, the first up on my screen, the third consecutive week quarter, really. Revenue is up 18%, which is fine, but EBITDA margins, and by the way, revenue is lower than estimated. EBITDA margin 8.9 versus 10.3. PAT up just a measly 2.3% at 695 versus 679. The high margin GMA continues to struggle, especially apparel, which is the issue for Avenue Supermarts. The good part is that the management comments of gross margins coming back to pre-COVID levels is a positive. Now, different brokerages have different views. Some have been extremely negative, some have been mildly positive or neutral. I thought Morgan Stanley kind of summed it up almost entirely. It's an equal weight with a target price of 3786. The top line growth moderated and EBITDA margins are below estimates. The lower demand for better margin general merchandise and apparel, which is the GMA category that I was talking about, remains the key challenge. It's low in Q1, but is now recovering and trending towards pre-pandemic levels. So if GMA moves higher, then that might be positive. So could Avenue Supermart see some support at lower levels because of the commentary ahead? Sure. Could it though start off lower? Very likely is what I would feel, but let's wait and watch. What can definitely do well is Just Dial. Uh, the stock had a good quarter one performance. Revenue is up 33%, EBITDA margin at 14.7% versus 5.9%, PAT at 83.4 crores versus 48.4 crores. The traffic in Q1 stood at 171.4 million users, up about 15.9%. Their earnings presentation talks about improved parameters on a number of line items. All of this should mean that Just Dial could actually react positively. The caveat for Just Dial viewers is that Just Dial was up about 7% on Friday session itself. So that's to be borne in mind. But you can't take away the fact that it's had a good quarter and the stock arguably should do well. Invalis is the third one. Sales down 9.4%, which is disappointing. EBITDA margins, though, much better, 14.1 versus 13.1. PAT down 6.6% at 63 versus 67.5. The people who track this closely say that the numbers are slightly better than estimates. I would suspect, based on one research note that I read, that it's a weak quarter. Difficult to say what will happen, viewers. I personally don't have a handle on this one, but do watch out. I would suspect that it's not a rah-rah quarter, and therefore don't quite know if it can react to positively. JSW Energy revenue from operations were down. EBITDA though was up about 19.57%. Margins was up. Net profit though much lower. Uh, and I think it'll be interesting to get a perspective from Prashant Jain as he joins us today at 10 a.m. to try and understand what could happen in the quarters to come. Remember, power is in the thick of things. A lot of conversations happening around what could happen to the power company's business is going ahead. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens to JSW Energy, not because of the quarter gone by, but because of what the commentary from the management is for the times to come. I would suspect that the most easiest one to predict as having a downtick is Bandhan Bank. Not a great quarter. Um, Sequential decline in loans, rise in the gross NPAs as well. NII at 2490 versus 2514, PAT at 721 versus 886. The Bloomberg estimate was 703. Gross NPAs though is the culprit, 6.76 versus 4.87%. Net NPAs 2.18 versus 1.17%. So big rise in the asset quality issues, and that is a problem. Now, excuse me, for Bandhan Bank, the issue is this. I'll just, brokerages have not taken it too constructively. So Ambit, for example, says that it's a miss across the board. The core PPOP declined 12% QOQ, 17% YOI. Total stressed loans increased 15% QOQ. They expect less than 15% ROE for the bank, with the EPS estimates being 30% lower than the consensus. They maintain their high conviction sell. Their target price is 155. Uh, you know, not not a very pleasant note. In fact, even Nomura, for example, I mean, they're not as negative, but they've reduced the target price from 325 to 270. They have a buy rating, but they've cut their FY24 to 26 EPS by 11 to 14%. I would suspect, irrespective of what the rating of individual brokerages might be, that the stock will start off lower. So Bandhan Bank probably turns out to be the stock of the day, the easy one to call, really. A couple of the smaller numbers: GTPL Hathway, nothing kind of a quarter, revenue up, but margins cracked significantly, net profit down 27%. Well, so not a great quarter. And VST Industries, excuse me, revenue up 7.5%, but EBITDA margins cracked and net profit fell 4%. So both of these have seen margin disappointments. So some bad news. Some bad news for Angel One as well. NSE imposed a penalty on the business for its alleged failure to monitor operations of its authorized persons or sub brokers. NSE also barred the company from onboarding new APs or sub brokers for the next 6 months. So the penalties amount is not that much, about a crore and a half, but it's also barred the company from onboarding new APs for the next 6 months. So that could be construed maybe a small negative. Investec came out with a note saying that yes, this could be construed as a negative, but this barring from 6 months is not that large an event for Angel One. So they like the results. They are constructive. They don't think this is that bad news. Let's see. So if it reacts negatively, who knows? There might be buyers that come in. The Adani Group and Adani Enterprises in focus because of this. It gets the final nod to revamp Dharavi. This could be big. If carried out successfully, could mean materially for the real estate side of the business. So do watch out for Adani Enterprises. Actually, for all businesses, right? I mean, cement, infrastructure, so on and so forth. So good positive shot in the arm. Standard disclaimer that the Adani Group owns 49% stake in Quintillion Business Media, which is the owner of BQ Prime, which is the platform on which you're watching. But excuse me, the thing is, viewers, that as a Mumbaiker, you really hope for a good redevelopment project for such a large parcel of land in Mumbai, in central Mumbai. And I really wish that the Dani Group uh, can do what it is showcased when it comes to the Dharavi redevelopment in the desired timelines, because such a large redevelopment is a difficult project. But if they can do this, it could give a facelift to the heart and the hub of Mumbai, and therefore, we should all wish them all the best for ensuring that this gets done smoothly. But this is a shot in the arm from a business perspective as well. So therefore, watch out for them. In fact, if I'm not wrong, City. In fact, I am not wrong because Bloomberg reported this, that City has put Adani Port shares on a positive catalyst. Just saying that it's a related thing, but yeah. So therefore, some good news for the Adani Group stocks. Then Soam Distilleries and Breweries. The company will consider and approve issue of 2.5 lakh equity shares on a preferential basis and a private placement basis to identify non-promoter entity. Would be interesting to see which this entity is. Suzlon has won an order from Ever Renew Energy to supply 48 wind turbines with a capacity of 2.1 megawatts each in Tamil Nadu. Will be commissioned by March 2024. Should be construed positively. Archean Chemical MD and promoter bought some shares, so that stock could be in focus as well. Like I said, the other stocks to focus on aside of Adani Ports, I haven't given graphics, but Tata Steel, because Tata Steel long products had a good start. So watch out for metal companies per se and building material companies. A lot of brokerages, including Systematics, which are known that I read, very constructive about the volume growth estimates for quarter one for the pipe companies. So do watch out for those stocks as well. Net, interesting busy season. Lots of result reactions that we'll see today and through the course of this week. We'll try and keep you updated with as many as we can. Thanks so much for, and it's an important day of conversations as well. So we did the India Opportunity Summit in on Thursday. We'll start bringing you all the conversations yet again. So at 11:30 today, Sunil, Saurabh, and Nilesh talk about the big India opportunity. So that is something that plays out at 11:30. But as we said, talking point comes in at 10 a.m. with Prashant Jain. So that is to be watched out for. And sometime during this week, conversations with the Temasek India leadership as well to be played on BQ Prime. So lots of interesting conversations, including result conversations through the day and through the week. Thanks so much for tuning into Trade Setup.